Welcome back to our Clean Technology Investment Tax Credit series. In this video, we're unpacking the potential penalties that come with non-compliance of the Clean Technology Investment Tax Credit, also known as the CT ITC. If you haven't already, watch the previous videos in this series to get the full picture of Canada's CT ITC. If you fail to meet the prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements after electing into them, there are three main pain points to look out for. You may face penalties for prevailing wages not paid and apprenticeship hours not met. These penalties can serve as corrective measures, and if they're paid out in accordance with the requirements, you may still be able to claim the increased tax credit at the regular rate, but only if you haven't been deemed grossly negligent. Separate penalties apply if gross negligence is found. Let's walk through these three factors. Failure to pay the correct prevailing wage rate may result in a daily penalty for underpayment of $20 per affected worker per day unless gross negligence is determined. This $20 amount was established for 2023 and it's adjusted annually for inflation starting in 2024. You may also be required to pay a top-up amount to each affected worker as determined in a notification from the minister. This top-up amount is the difference between the prevailing wage rate that should have been paid and the actual wage rate that was paid during the year plus interest. You have 1 year from the date you received the notification to pay this amount in full. Failure to pay this amount in the time due results in a penalty of 120% of the top-up amount determined for each covered worker. If you have not been deemed grossly negligent, you will still be able to claim the ITC at the regular credit rate, even if the above addition to tax provisions for prevailing wage apply. Let's see how this would play out in a simplified example. A contractor has elected into the labor requirements for a project in 2023 and pays their employees $28 an hour. The amount actually owed to employees under prevailing wage is $30 an hour. The contractor must then pay the top-up amount of the prevailing wage minus the actual wage plus interest. This would be the $30 owed minus the $28 paid, resulting in a $2 per hour top-up amount alongside the daily $20 underpayment penalty. If this employer had 5 employees on the job that worked a total of 800 hours on the project from start to finish over 20 working days, this employer has to pay back $1,600 that was originally owed under the prevailing wage rate and an additional daily underpayment penalty. If the employer doesn't pay within a year of notification, the $1,600 becomes $1,920. These amounts can grow fast. And if you're the main group on the project that's working to earn the increased tax credits, you're liable for the compliance of all contractors on the project. You don't want these shortfalls to stack, so it's vital that you verify the correct prevailing wages owed early on in the project, and that you consistently check in to verify that those amounts are being paid. If you do not meet the required number of apprentice labor hours in Red Seal trades, you will be liable to pay a dollar amount multiplied by the difference between the total hours of labor that were required to be performed by apprentices registered in a Red Seal trade and the total hours of labor that were actually performed by apprentices registered in Red Seal trades, plus any other hours of labor for which you met the apprenticeship requirements. For example, the 2023 dollar amount owed per hour where apprentice utilization is lacking is $50. The formula is $50 per the 2023 rate, multiplied by the shortfall in apprentice hours, minus any additional hours that exceeded the required threshold, if applicable. The $50 base amount will be adjusted annually for inflation starting in 2024. If you have not been grossly negligent, you will still be able to claim the ITC at the regular credit rate, even if the addition to tax provisions apply. Here's a sample calculation. If there are 300 required apprentice hours and only 75 hours were actually performed by apprentices, the difference is 225 hours. The penalty would be 225 hours multiplied by $50 which equals $11,250 owed. This amount would be adjusted if the year is after 2023. If you willfully fail to meet the prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements, or if your failure occurs under circumstances amounting to gross negligence, the following consequences apply. First, you'll be disqualified from earning the full credit rate. You may claim only the reduced credit rate, even if you initially elected to meet the labor requirements. Second, you must pay a penalty equal to 50% of the difference between the amount of the CT ITC claimed at the regular rate and the amount you would have been entitled to under the reduced rate. So, if gross negligence is determined, you will not be subject to the corrective measures that may allow you to claim the increased credit, take the daily penalties, top-up amounts, or apprenticeship hour shortfall taxes. So, the 50% penalty and reduced rate are the resulting consequences. If you're looking to avoid penalties at all costs, partnering with experts may be the best case option for you. At Alliant, we're trained on decades of experience and time-tested processes that help groups throughout the industry verify compliance on their projects. Reach out to us if you're interested in assistance or even if you just have a question.
Thank you for watching this video. If you need further help or have prevailing wage questions, feel free to give us a call or reach out to us through our website. You can also follow us on our social media platforms for any future updates. Here at Alliant, we'll help you get compliant.